Okay, can you hear us now? I see Brenda. I see Brenda. Yeah. And Bob. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I've been talking for 25 minutes now. So welcome everybody on Zoom. But the question really is, what in the last year and a half has changed for you in your business that you're like, this is a good thing. This is what I want to keep doing. You've been working out of home. Okay.
And to get more done early in the morning.
Good. So you can golf longer. I like this. Good. It's my biggest worry about Bob. Is he getting enough golf in? Mary Lou, what were we saying? Okay, so your offer writing proficiency has grown. That's good. Zoom, good Zoom, bad Zoom? What do you like about Zoom?
I like because I can have little meetings without going there or have them meet me somewhere. It seems easier for the buyers or my buyers to just Zoom in rather than like sometimes they don't want to come to the office and then you're looking for a coffee shop.
Okay.
But they're pretty good with the Zoom.
Good. So like a client consultation on Zoom, which I think is great because I think sometimes we just didn't bother because it was a hassle. Okay. Any other thoughts? Any people on Zoom have any thoughts on what's been good about the last year and a half that you've changed about your business? No. Okay. Well, we're glad you can all be on Zoom and still be at the sales meeting. That's a good thing, right? Any other thoughts here? Tom, you got anything?
Yeah.
All right, here. Wait, I'm not done yet though.
Oh, okay. So Jen's going to continue to talk for another 25 minutes. I was actually talking with Jen this morning and I said, since we reconvened for these sales meetings, I get, and this is a mental thing, but I get less people in the crowd here than we did prior to COVID. But I said, I have to change my way of thinking because we have additional people that are Zooming in. You add that to the people that are here. And then I've also been recording all these. So I put them on YouTube and then I watch the number of views on YouTube. So between all three of them, it's actually, I'm getting a greater number of people taking a look at this. Although if I look visually at you guys right now, I'm thinking this is, there's not a lot of people here, but yes. So it's a different mindset. I think what Jen was getting at is we all got to have a different mindset based upon what we've all just been through. And some of these things are actually sticking just like this. So.
Well, and I think the biggest thing for me is, as a company, we're really trying to figure out new ways to communicate with everyone as well. So, we're really trying to pay attention to views on YouTube and Facebook likes and how many people are joining Zoom calls now versus what they were doing 6 months ago and who's coming into the building and who's not coming into the building. But, for me, I'm someone who always enjoys constant change and big things happening. And, so we really are in a position right now as a company that we're reevaluating everything that we do and saying, does it even make sense after COVID for us to continue doing this the way we've been doing it? And so I think there's some things that we're really going to improve upon. I think there's some things that some tools, some opportunities that are going to be delivered to you guys in the next year or so that are going to help you work more from home or from the golf course or wherever you want to do business. And I think we're excited about the ability to do that. And it just has us just thinking in more strategic ways in that direction, maybe faster than we would have been otherwise. But I sat with an agent yesterday who, was giving me this laundry list of like, ideally, like I'd like this and I'd like that and I'd like this. And I'm like, okay, well, just stay tuned. Like it's all coming. Like it's all good stuff. But, I just want to say like, we have so many cool things on the table and things to make the Zoom experience even better coming from a sales meeting so that we can continue to offer that as an option. But then everybody here in the room feels connected to the people on Zoom as well. And something that simple all the way to how do we start using AI a little bit better in our technology as a company to drive more business back to you guys. So, little things and big things that are going to make a big difference in the coming years in real estate. So just wanted to say hi and tell you that I'm excited about where we're heading. So hope you're all hanging in there with us.
Thank you, Jen. First up here is Dan, who is going to talk a little bit about something that we chatted about yesterday. And James, I don't know if he's on the call, but
What did we chat about yesterday? Okay, because I really, obviously we had a meeting last week and covered a topic then, so I had to kind of scramble and think, gosh, what's important, what's valuable information I can share, and I came up with two things this morning that I don't think I ran by Tom, but they're good anyway. So the first is, you see those things on social media, like, how old were you when you found out this or that or everything else? And interestingly enough, I found something out last week that in 18 years, I never really knew. But anyway, so I don't do a lot of FHA loans, and obviously in the current market, we're not doing a whole lot. But something that is kind of important to know is, with FHA, the only non-borrower that can be on a deed or agreement of sale is a family member. So for instance, if you have two individuals that are unmarried and unrelated, and only one person is on the loan, the other person cannot be on the deed to the property. And this is an FHA guideline. So, I had to really think back over the years if I ever did any. And, the challenge is, if any lender does them and it gets to the point where FHA realizes it, FHA will not insure the loan. So it ends up being something then the lender would need to hold, and it's not going to be insured by FHA. So, just kind of important, because obviously in today's society, you have a lot of individuals that are not married buying a home. And if they are not both on the loan part of the financing, then they cannot be on the deed to the property. So just very important information as far as that. The other thing, which I guess is a little bit of some information Tom shared with me, is, obviously we're still seeing a lot of the impacts of COVID from 2020, as far as individuals that were laid off, reduced employment, income, whatever it may be. Obviously, a lot of self-employed individuals were hit kind of hard with this as well. But at this time, none of the agencies are offering any type of relief or consideration for any income reduction. So this is becoming a little challenging with some clients. Obviously their defense is, well, I couldn't help it. It had nothing to do with me. But unfortunately, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, as well as FHA, USDA, and VA, I hate to say this, but they really don't care, for the lack of better term. So, and this kind of coincides with some of the talk about, the housing market and how lending guidelines are, essentially much stricter now compared to the, perceived, comparison to the mid 2000s. So, guidelines are strict. And I think, as challenging as it is important to maintain the integrity of the buyers and to lower any type of risk. So in a situation, where someone did have a gap in income, unfortunately, it's, when we're looking at a 2-year history, especially with someone that's self-employed, it's really going to be based on their tax returns. And, 2020 in some cases was very difficult for self-employed individuals. So, just really wanted to point that out for consideration, because I feel like I'm just, in the past couple of weeks, I've seen a lot more of borrowers in this situation, and they're like, well, I had $30,000 of unemployment compensation, but unfortunately that can never be considered as income when qualifying for a mortgage. So any specific situations, obviously you can always feel free to reach out to James or myself, and we can always, do our best to work through it with the borrower. And yes. Oh, yes. My notes, I'll give you this.
Hi, so again, if you don't know me, I'm Sherry Kelly. Sarah's on vacation this week and my lovely assistant, Alexis. So today I just wanted to talk to you and remind you a little bit about addendums. So, with these sales prices that everyone is offering and then they don't come in, so sales price change, that affects the commissions. There might be seller assist added or things like that. Sometimes we don't get those addendums, and I just want to remind you to always try to get those to title, because we could like finish things out and then we find out later from the lender that things changed, which sets a whole bunch of stuff into motion. So in Ephrata, I like to do a little cheer where I tell them, when you think addendum, you think title, addendum, title, addendum, title. So that someone told me one time I was doing an addendum and all I could think about was your little cheer. So yeah, just make sure you get those over. It's very helpful. Some agents think that like if they're putting changes into dot loop that we automatically get those, but we don't. So they actually have to be sent to us. So that's my big thing for today. So, but if you have addendum, title, addendum, you're welcome. So that's really all I have for today.
Thank you, ladies. Well, I made the mistake of not previewing that.
You're saying it's there?
James White is with us this morning talking a little bit about some insurance.
Okay, yeah, since we're about halfway through the year, I just thought it'd be great to give you guys an update on our numbers with our agency as well too, compared to last year. Last year we had, and this was for our entire agency, it was 1,737 policies sold, and up to the same point this year, we're up to 1,919. So thank you for that. At this specific office, it was 128 last year and it was 151 this year. So that's a pretty big increase too. And that represents basically about 19%. So that's about 1 in 5 of the capture deals that our agency has sold have come through this office. So I thank you greatly for that as well too. So that's all I had for today.
Thank you for everybody that works with not only James, but our core service providers. It means a lot when we put things through core services because some of that comes back here to the office and we can afford to do certain things like have pizza at lunch today. So wanted to make sure everybody is aware of this because we have a deadline coming up. The Real Estate Education Center kind of went to mothballs about 3-4 weeks ago for a variety of different reasons. And we have partnered with CE Shop, which is an online CE provider, also pre-licensing provider. This email went out to everybody, and I also put a flyer in everybody's box about CE courses. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is a couple different things. First of all, the flyer that went in your box, I was made aware of yesterday, does not have the promo code on it. So just wanted to make you aware that the promo code is LAUNCH, L-A-U-N-C-H. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is we have there's a special program going on until, and I don't think it's there, but it is there, August 8th, which is coming up very quickly, that you can buy CE courses at a 40% discount. And you don't have to take these courses for 6 months. So you can get these under your belt right now, buy them, and go ahead and just wait for 6 months. So I'm going to back up here a second. This is the website that you go to register. It's called homesaleeducation.com. We tried to make it idiot proof, make it easy for you to remember. So homesaleeducation.com. You can get, once again, those CE courses out of the way so that you can either buy them now, and then when you're sitting on the beach on vacation, you can take one of these courses. So I wanted to make sure everybody is aware of this. It's a fairly easy menu once you get in here to navigate through. It's going to ask you what state you're in. So please put Pennsylvania. The other thing I wanted to make sure everybody is aware of is there's code of ethics training that is required between now and December 31st of this year. Code of ethics training. It is being offered in two different ways. You can get the free version. And by the way, this is where you go. Go to realtor.org, click on education, click on code of ethics training. And you can get the free version, which is a non-CE course. They still both count toward the educational requirements as far as NAR is concerned. But if you pay $29.95, you can have that particular course count toward your continuing education. So you can kill two birds with one stone. So I wanted to start mentioning this now because we're more than halfway through the year. And traditionally, I know every office that I've ever managed, and I'm sure Jen's the same way, we usually get to about December 27th. And then we usually get this really long list of names of people that haven't taken the course yet. And when I get in touch with them, and I'm sure Jen has experienced the same thing, it's like, huh, what? I have to take this course? And it's usually between Christmas and New Year's when they have no time and families in town. So a word to the wise right now, get it out of the way now, okay?
Thanks for being correct. I mean, you're like me, you never.
Right. So for those of you on Zoom, what Jen was saying is all the offices that she has managed, she's never had a problem with this. It's only been my offices. Right. So once again, get on there, get your code of ethics training out of the way.
Berkshire Hathaway is built to be forever. In terms of permanence, we've got an organization that can't be matched by anyone. You want to buy a house, you want to go to somebody that knows what they're talking about and that has your interests at heart. We'll be building on values that are the kind that you can put on the front page of a newspaper and that everybody that's associated with the company can be proud of.
A source of enormous pride when it comes to the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services brand are the core tenets we represent: trust, integrity, stability, and longevity, the anchors this company is built on and what we're known for.
Push you to get stronger, faster, and serve the customer better.
Pretty amazing, huh?
In an industry long seen as transactional, our network is leaning into the Berkshire Hathaway spirit of longevity and integrity. It's the driving force behind our forever brand ideology.
Okay, so I wanted to show you that for a couple different reasons. First of all, many of you may or may not be aware that Christy Budnick is now our CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. She has been on the job now probably for, I lose track of time, 2 months, something like that. And Jen, have you ever met Christy? Okay. I've not met her either. I hear great things about her. She is from Florida. She had her own Berkshire Hathaway Home Services franchise there. Did a marvelous job down there. She comes, once again, highly highly decorated, a really strong individual. And I wanted you to be aware, first of all, and bless you, I saw that coming. Wanted you to be aware that she's in the position that she occupies now, and she is ready to take on a lot of different things. I showed this, and this is where this Real Estate Risk Media magazine just was published, which I put on our social media pages yesterday, the day before. Fantastic interview there, and I'll make sure I forward the link to you after this meeting with the notes that I send out. Please read the interview that Christy has there. There's a lot of really, really good stuff that she brings to the table. This is one of her quotes, and she is a big believer in becoming invaluable. So you'll see that throughout the entire interview. The one quote that I took away from it is, value is defined in most dictionaries as meaning useful or describing something of worth. Invaluable, on the other hand, is defined as indispensable, priceless, precious, and valuable beyond estimation. It's her goal to make all of us in this franchise invaluable. So I highly recommend it. It's a great read. It'll take about 5 minutes to get through the interview, but I think you'll get a lot out of it. I'm really excited that she's with us. So this is the third meeting now that we're going to talk about the appraisal contingency. I'm getting tired of it. And Jen can probably back this up. We've had multiple meetings. I'm sure Jen, she could add a couple more expletives down at the bottom of this. We have actually beat this thing to death. We got to the point where after it was released, we thought to ourselves, God, this isn't really put together very well. And then we thought, well, we're just going to take it out of dotloop and we'll do our own. And then we thought, well, that's not a pretty good idea because co-op agents are going to be giving us this. So we decided to keep it in dotloop. But Jen put out an email yesterday, I believe, maybe it was the day before, that kind of went through here and gave you a version of what you should be doing with this. In addition to, we created our own version that is now in dotloop under the clauses section, which I will tell you where that is in a second here. So here's how most agents are looking at this thing. They're looking sideways at it going, what the heck, where do I begin with this thing? Okay. We have had some people say, can't we scrap this and go back to the old appraisal contingency? The answer is no, we can't do that. Okay. So we're stuck with this one. So if we're stuck with it, we might as well learn how to use it properly, or at least to the best of our ability. So in Jen's email, and I'll footnote her on this because I pulled this right out of her email. Option number one, if you're not familiar with this form, let me back up a second here. Up here, this is the first paragraph, and you have the ability to put in some stuff here, sale prices or appraisal values and otherwise. I'm going to get back to that in a second. Here's option one. There's space there for 2 initials. Option number 2 has 2 initials. Now, I kid you not, and I mentioned this in one of our previous meetings, we are now starting to receive these, and both options are initialed by co-op agents. So don't initial both of them, at least initial one of them. And yes, we are getting some that are turning this over to us with no initials in either box. Yeah, Jen. Yes. So for those of you on Zoom, Jen threw in a plug for Team Builder because we need to get those co-op agents that don't know what they're doing over to us so we can train them on how to use this form. So option number 1, the buyer may terminate the agreement if the property does not appraise at the purchase price. Do not fill in any blanks in paragraph 1. There's 2 blanks there. One deals with a price. The other one deals with a time frame. Now you can mess around with the time frame, but not the price. Okay, so that's option number 1. This one is slanted more toward the buyer, and that's how I look at these. Is what are they slanted toward? So if you have a buyer that's really concerned about where this appraisal is coming in and wants to essentially have a little bit of a back out if need be, option number one is the way to go. Option number two, on the other hand, the buyer will bring additional funds or adjust their mortgage LTV if needed to meet the agreed upon purchase price. And oh, by the way, getting back to our lovely cheering title people, if you're going to do this, make sure that you send the addendums off to title so that they are aware of them. Complete paragraph number one with the lowest acceptable appraisal price to buyer, which would include an additional any additional cash the buyer is willing to add into the transaction should the property not come in at the agreed upon purchase price. This one is slanted more toward the seller. Okay, so depends on what side of the table you're on and how you want to structure your agreement. And then, once again, going back to some of my original things I was talking about, we came up with, well, if you don't even want to use this, what can you use? Here's a clause that you can use, okay? If you prefer simply to indicate the buyer's intention to proceed to settlement with additional funds if needed, insert the following clause into special clauses. So rather than take a picture of that or copy and paste, I've already put this clause in the clauses section of .loop. Okay, so it's there for you. All you have to do is copy and paste it within .loop itself. Okay. So, but don't change it.
Not change it in the clause section.
Thank you. Yes.
Because if you do, you're going to change it for everybody, and then the next person cuts it, put that on.
Yeah. So this, and I've gotten this in the past from people, and I continue to keep bringing it up. People say, I didn't know there was a clause section in .loop. Well, there is a clause section in .loop. And I'm going to skip down here to the bottom. To access special clauses, click templates, the templates icon at the top of the page, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. And in the left-hand column, there's a little link there called clauses. And if you click on that clauses, not only will you see the one that we just talked about up here, but you're also going to see some other ones. Seller finding suitable housing or repair costs not to exceed a certain amount. Sight unseen clause and backup offer clause. All of these have been put together by our attorneys, our legal counsel. So they are good to go. To Jen's point, don't change them, because if you're changing them, you're changing attorney's language. Okay. That's the reason why we put them in here, is so we don't get into trouble. Okay. Any questions on the appraisal stuff? Okay. Yes.
What's the difference between using the addendum and using the clause? Do you need to do both?
No, do not use, don't use both. The question.
And lots of people are doing that. So don't
Yes.
go for that question. You've got to say something that we are seeing a lot, and we're checking option one and then using that clause.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question was, do we use the clause? Do we use the addendum? Do we use them both? And the answer that Jen was expanding upon is don't use them both, because in most cases, one is contradicting the other one. Okay. So use one or the other. And if you have questions, either as you're putting the agreement together or as you're receiving an agreement, come and talk to me and I'll try to walk you through it to the best of my ability. Now, the other thing I will say is best practices is don't assume that co-op agents know as much as you. Even though they fill this out properly, I have seen and heard co-op agents say to me or to you as agents, well, that's not what this means. My advice to you is, regardless of who is giving you, or if you're sending one out with your offer, always call the co-op agent and say, listen, I've either included the appraisal clause or I've included the appraisal contingency. Here's what I marked off. Here's what our intent is. Or if you're on the other side of the table, do the exact same thing, because people are interpreting these differently. And it's great to find out about it now versus a month from now, when you're 1 week away from settlement and you both look at each other and say, well, that's not what I meant. Don't get in that situation. I'd far rather find out now than late in the game. Okay. So I think everybody knows that you should be on some type of social media, promoting your business, promoting things that you do in the community, because it's just good business for everybody. Not only us as real estate agents, but core service providers, you name it. It's a great thing. And most people, by and large, are taking advantage of that because most of these are free services. So whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or any of the other social media websites, that's great, okay? And I applaud you for that. However, the one that I think that most people are missing, and I go back to a statistic that this was put out by Statista, that's hard to say, at least for me. 87.76% of online search is performed in Google. And the question I have is, how many of you have a Google business account that is free? Okay, it is free. So I would highly encourage you, not only do you get on social media and put your stuff out there, but get a Google business account, because when people are searching for you online, they're going to Google and they're typing in your name. And wouldn't it be great if this came up? So it is free. It's called Google My Business. Google My Business. All you have to do is go to that URL, google.com/business. And I'm not going to get in, this is not a training session on this, but all you have to do, there's a blue button here and the blue button up there that says Manage Now. And all you do is just click that and you just answer a whole bunch of questions about your business, where you're located, what you offer. There's a little resume section in there that you can tell people about yourself. There's pictures, there's all kinds of different things in there, so that when people are Googling you, and they are Googling you, when they are Googling you, this is coming up also, in addition to some of your social media accounts and other things. Okay, does that make sense? Right. A lot of people don't even know this exists, and that's unfortunate because most people are finding you through this. Okay. So dealing with buyer's remorse. How many people in here have had a buyer have second thoughts about what they just got involved with? Just, okay. Tell me about what they're saying to you, of those that raised your hand, either here or on Zoom. Tell me what they said to you. Nobody said anything. They're afraid they paid too much.
I had one going through.
Bought it sight unseen. Drove by the neighborhood a week later and said, oh my God, what did I just do? What else? Anybody else?
Terminated deals off of pretext in the inspection.
Say that again?
They terminated the deals after kind of like stuff in the inspection, but it really was nothing.
Yeah, so they did have an inspection contingency. And while there really wasn't anything really out of line in the inspection, other than really small things, they were using that as an excuse to get out of it because they got cold feet or they got a little nervous. Does all this stuff sound familiar? Brenda?
Yes, my folks settled, and then within a couple days they had no water, the well pump, and it had been going on for a while, it sounds like, but so we're dealing with that.
So in that case,
No inspections.
No inspections. Once again, they didn't get cold feet until after they got into the house and had no water. So this stuff is happening all the time, especially right now with, we're coming out of COVID. We're in a really fast moving market. So I'm going to share some things with you that I've been observing, not only with some of the things that you're talking about, but some of the things that I've heard from other agents and read of things that you can do to kind of lessen this. Okay. So I saw this survey. It was done by Bankrate in May of 2021. And they surveyed millennial buyers who have regrets after they purchased a house. And by the way, of all the different demographics, millennials are the ones that have the most regrets. Okay. Yeah. So Bob said it starts with Amazon because you can send anything back on Amazon. So they think you can send back the house after you buy it. So they are the group by and large that have the greatest number of regrets. And I thought I'd share their top regrets with you and see if it rings a bell up here of things that you can do as an agent to maybe allay some of their fears. Here's their number one regret. The maintenance costs after they moved in or during they thought were just too high. About a fifth of millennials thought that. A fifth. That's a big number. Okay. Mortgage payment was too high. We're going to blame this one on Dan. He's got broad shoulders. He can handle that. 13% thought the mortgage payment was too high, even though, tell us about interest rates, Dan.
But I mean, I think a big part of that is the millennials that they have no housing cost. So you're going from, you know,
nothing to everything.
$1,500 a month.
Right.
And I mean, you know, I think it's a tremendous payment shot.
Yeah.
So
So Dan's point here was that they don't have a yardstick to compare things to. Is they're used to either living with mom and dad and they're living there for nothing, or they've got cohabitation in an apartment with 3 or 4 other people and they're spending $250 a month, and then all of a sudden it goes to $1,500 a month and they're like, wow, didn't know this. I heard it in here from somebody, overpaid for the property. They get, you know, after they purchased it, then they're like, oh my gosh, what did I just do? They got all wound up in, you know, multiple offer situations. And I think we've all seen this where, and Mary Lou said it best, how many offers have you written that you? Numerous offers. She's written numerous offers, and the people just get to the point where they're like, I'll do anything to get into a house. And then they get in and then they're like, oh my God, what did I just do? Okay. Unhappy with the mortgage rate, getting back to the mortgage issue. Great, yeah. And number 5 was they didn't think it was a good investment after they, you know, purchased the house. So keep these in mind as you're talking with buyers. I think it's really important right now to understand, especially the millennial buyer, where their mindset is. And I hadn't thought about that, Bob, but they were, it's a perfect example. They're raised in the Amazon era where you can send anything back. Okay. So reasons for buyer's remorse. And I read this and I thought, boy, these all really, really make sense. The first one is we're coming out of the pandemic and we all had this lifestyle change where we've been living or reliving with our kids for extended periods of time, or reliving with our spouse for extended periods of time. And we're just not used to that. Okay. Pressure of an intensely hot seller's market. We've all experienced this, where we are out there, as Mary Lou aptly said here, we're just absolutely out there putting agreement after agreement together in the seller's market, and we're having difficulty getting buyers into. And when they finally get in, they're like, oh, what did I do? Say again? Yes. They had to get something. Yeah, they don't feel good about what they finally got after submitting the first 8 offers, which are the, you know, the first 2 offers or 2 or 3 offers that they submitted. Those are the homes that they really want. And now these are the second and third choice for them, at least in their mind. And number 3, they're pushing their budget to the max. You know, they sit down with a lender, or they sit down with Dan, and Dan qualifies them, or James qualifies them. And, you know, they qualify up to this, but they say, well, I only want to go up to here. And then they get involved with these bidding wars. And then they're saying to themselves, well, I can go up here if I want to, because I am pre-qualified, but they weren't thinking about that in the very beginning. Okay. So I'm suggesting that your buyer consultation appointments right now, you need to pay much more attention to and really start gauging people right now. The days of getting a phone call from a referral and going out and showing a home, and those days are done, because you're going to get people with cold feet that are, at the end of the day, they're going to back out of agreements or try to back out of agreements because you didn't spend time with them up front. It's really important right now. Evaluate your client's market readiness. And here's what I mean by market readiness. How fast can they respond? Do they understand how fast the market is moving right now? I've heard from many of you, and I've heard from co-op agents say, well, you know, my buyer's on the road, he's a truck driver, and he can only answer his phone every third day. That's not going to cut it in this market. It's just not, because you know it as a real estate agent. Sometimes you need an answer just like that, and you need to pick up the phone and contact these people. So understand they've got to be ready to respond to you to act quickly. Okay. Tolerance for bidding wars. How do they feel about competing with 7, 8 other offers? Review that with them up front. Don't let them get into their first 7 or 8 offers and their eyes get this big saying, oh my God, I'm competing with 7 other people. Let's address that at the buyer consultation. And their ability to scale up the budget. Once again, getting back to, you know, Dan or James, they pre-qualify somebody they can afford up to here, but they're comfortable here. Talk with them about the gap. How comfortable are they with that gap? Find that out right now. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a negotiation. So here are some strategies to employ to keep clients calm and confident in what they're doing and what you're advising them to do. Don't speak about the market in vague terms. And I've heard it. You guys have said it also. This market is crazy. It's crazy. It's a seller's market. And by the way, we use this all the time. We all do. And a buyer looks at us and says, well, gosh, if it's that crazy, why am I doing this? You know, get away from that vague language. All right. Start dealing with facts with people. Now, I'm an analytical person, as most people know. So I'm into this. Not all your emotional people are, but you need to get away from these vague, broad brush statements. Let them know what the supply and demand is right now. And we put out market stats every single month for you. Start using these with buyers at the buyer consultation appointment, letting them know what kind of market that we're in right now. Don't get to the point where you're actually in the middle of a bidding war and then they discover, I didn't realize the market was like this. All right. Days on market. Share with them how fast properties are moving. That truck driver that's on the road and can't be contacted in 3 days, show them the number of days on the market and share with them, we're going to have to make some quick decisions here, especially when new stuff comes onto the market itself. And share with them what's going on with average sale price, which has really, really escalated over the last probably 9 to 12 months. Right. Number 2, be prepared to handle more objections. We just heard Jane just talk about her inspection where they threw it in because some tiny little thing. Let's talk about this stuff up front. Talk about inspection reports, appraisal issues, and timing of occupancy. And when I say timing of occupancy, I'm seeing so many transactions today where buyers are saying to sellers, it's okay to stay in for 30 days. And once again, if you're doing this, see James about insurance and also see Dan about the mortgage, because you could have mortgage or insurance issues. But once again, people are providing much more flexibility in this market with moving in and moving out to try to get the deal. Number 3, discuss those renovation costs up front. So you saw there the millennial buyers. They are very concerned. That was one of their big concerns, is how much maintenance there was in this, which they weren't prepared for. Find out about what they're looking for. I have used in the past, and I shared this at sales meeting. There's a cost versus value report, and I'll make sure I put it in the notes. It's specific to Lancaster that shows what the value of putting improvements into home actually is or are. make sure you're sharing this with your buyers so that they understand, what the value of some of this stuff is. And number 4, help clients focus on the long term. I usually found out when I was sitting with a buyer is, why are you moving? Find out what their why is, and then focus on that when you're in the middle of all this stuff. So if the reason why they're moving is to get closer to mom and dad so that they can see the grandkids, when they're in the middle of a very, very tough negotiation, at some point in time, you're probably going to want to say, hey, we've been doing this now for 2-3 months. How important is this? Let's get you to the finish line. But you got to find out what that why is for your buyers up front. So be prepared to discuss equity buildup, tax advantages, and low interest rates. These are things that are very, very helpful for them. And once again, there's the why. I saw this, and there's no print there. We are hand holders right now. We are absolute hand holders with our buyers. Be ready for this, because they're going to need a lot of hand holding through this whole process. Not that sellers don't, but buyers, this can be overwhelming for them. It's our job to make sure that we guide them through this in a way that at the end of the day, they're going to feel good about this whole thing. Okay. So we're getting close to 12 noon. This is an oldie but goodie from Milton Berle. If opportunity doesn't knock, build that door. Loved him growing up. He was a great comedian. I love this saying. There's a lot that can apply to this. We are in the process, as Jen brought out in the beginning of this thing, we are doing different things now than we did probably 18 months ago. We're building those doors right now that we never thought that we'd go down the road in the past. So keep building the doors, because there's a lot more doors to be built over the next year or so. Okay. That's it. Pizza is coming. It's probably here right now. They're probably waiting for us to end the meeting. So everybody have a great day. Once again, I apologize. Yep. See y'all. I apologize once again. Here come the pizzas right on time. Thank you, Janice. Yeah, we have this room for now, and there's another meeting in here afterwards. So feel free to just plop down in here. We have sodas and drinks coming, so you're more than welcome here. I am, by the way, trying to figure out how many people like these 11 o'clock meetings versus the 9:30 meetings. So I may flip it back and forth over the next couple of meetings just to see, what the general consensus is. Right now, it's almost a dead heat. So anyway, everybody have a great day. Stay and enjoy some pizza. Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of different reactions. I have reactions to either way. So.